continue to exist. But I'm going to let Meek Mill tell us about his little experience when he got, there's like a movie coming out on Prime. Now, they didn't pay for this promotion, so Prime and whomever, if you see this, you know, it's a monetized page, you can send something. All right? And thank y'all for the subscriptions, jumping in the chat, and just listening to me to talk my stuff out here on the internet. I appreciate y'all. I really do.
I've been on probation, I think like 10 or 11 years for an arrest that occurred when I was just 19 years old. If you're on probation, you could still be sentenced because you came in contact with the police. My probation officer wanted to violate me. I couldn't travel for 4 or 5 months where I couldn't make money. I couldn't take care of my family. I couldn't work. I couldn't continue to live my life. And then I had to go to jail and do a 2 to 4 year sentence. I actually was locked up with people who lost their homes, they lost their families. So that's almost like double jeopardy. You can miss a probation officer call and go to prison. You could.
That's crazy. $1.50 a day to fight fire.
It just could cost my life.
See what I'm saying, Bruce Lee? It's ridiculous, man.
One day you go to your parole officer when you're on your set parole date. He's waiting for you with handcuffs, and there's nothing you can do about it. I made an illegal U-turn. It's a traffic ticket. And I did 90 days for it.
That's the problem. There's not a lot of guidelines with probation officers or judges as to what is not necessary to
now, you know what? I'm going to pause that for a second with the one guy about the 90-day traffic ticket. He shouldn't have done 90 days for that. But I don't really know what his traffic ticket was. He made an illegal U-turn, and he was backing up 90 days. So I'm sure he wasn't backing up 90 days. He must have been backing up like a year or two, or maybe more than that, and they made him do 90 days. But for anybody who's been incarcerated for a period of time, and like I said, I'm not talking to you guys in my audience because all of you are perfect, never done anything wrong, you have absolutely no records, so you guys have no idea what I'm talking about. But for those people in the world that have, 90 days is enough to destroy your life. If you don't have anything stacked up, you don't have money stacked up, or you don't have a support system that can take care of whatever your responsibilities were when you was out there. Now, if you weren't shit when you was on the street and you wasn't really doing nothing, then no, nothing changes about your life. You're just in jail. But if you're a person that actually was working, paying your rent, you got a car note, you got insurance, you got all these other things going on, you lose all of that really in about 30 days. You might get lucky if you just paid the rent and you got somebody else that can pay part of it. But if you're not on that situation, doing 90 days in jail is literally like resetting your life. You'll get everything evicted if you lived on your own. All your stuff will end up on the street. And people will pick at it, and you won't have anything left after the 3 months that you finally get out of there. So 90 days, I know it doesn't sound like a long time in terms of like lifetime, but the actual effect of what can happen in just 90 days of time and doing any time in jail is it can reset you back years just with 90 days. So, like I said, I know my audience, these guys are all super clean records and never done nothing ever at all. So they have no idea what I'm talking about. They can't relate at all. But anyway, let me let them finish up. But he said he had to do 90 days. So I don't know what he was backing up. But the point I was trying to make was a little bit longer than 90 days. I'm not saying 90 days isn't a problem. But there's problems where people have to do 9 years over a traffic ticket. But we'll continue.
Back to jail.
Traveling without permission. Being where alcohol is served. Being late to your appointments.
There
violating
are millions
curfews.
of people who are trapped in a revolving door, going back into prison, and they're being pulled away from their kids, pulled away from their job, and locked up in America, and it's wrong.
It costs today between $40,000 and $50,000 per year to keep somebody in prison.
Keep that number in mind. $40,000 to $50,000 a year to keep somebody in prison. And we're getting ready to deal with mass deportation, and people are going to be stuck in jail. So we're going to hear about that number a few times. Watch it be more for an illegal situation. It'll be more to house an illegal immigrant for deportation than it is to house an American citizen who's incarcerated. I guarantee that. How you going to make that worth more? I don't know. But, okay.
Versus using that money to help rehabilitate them.
We look at probation and the justice system as a center for morality. but I don't think many people know how immoral we treat people.
Parole is tough on anybody. I mean, it's a setup to fail.
It almost seemed like they wanted me to go back to committing crimes.
They do.
All the research has shown us that if someone is going to commit new crimes, it's going to reveal itself within the first year. This extreme length of probation is really kind of a check and balance on people.
What's the purpose of probation and parole? It's to rehabilitate somebody, but it's not actually accomplishing that.
A good place to start to end mass incarceration is to end mass supervision.
The mission of the Reform Alliance is to change laws and policies by changing hearts and minds about the
So
incarceration.
this is, I think, Van Jones's production, or he had something to do with it.
I'm not
Him and
free
Meek
now,
Mill.
and I hope one of these courts rule that I don't belong back in prison.
Everybody has a right to change.
Everybody does have a right to change. They do. Now, I only wanted to show that to you just to bring you into the full scope of what all of this is really about. Parole and probation, inmates, convicted people, non-transitioned, previous criminally negligent folks. You can come up with a whole bunch of different adjectives to describe, but there is a segment of the population that is literally utilized as cattle, known as the inmate population. And the practice has been going on since 1865. So how do